Hello, today is March 23rd, 2021. My name is Mariana Navarro, and I'm interviewing Maggie Ortiz for the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know, Mrs. Ortiz, that this interview will be placed in the Natalie Benson Latin American Collection Library at UT Austin. If there's ever anything that you do not wish to answer or anything that you don't want to talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there is something that you would like to talk about, please bring it up and we'll go ahead and talk about it. Because we are obviously not conducting this interview in person, I do need to record you consenting. So I'll ask you a series of 5 questions. Please say, yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each one. There are a couple of questions that we need to make sure that you do agree to before we go on. So the first one, Voces wishes to archive your interview along with any other photographs or documentation at the Benson Library at UT Austin. We will retain copyright of this interview and any other materials that you donate to Voces. So the first question, do you give Voces consent to archive your interview and your materials at the Benson Library?
I agree.
Wonderful. Do you grant Voces copyright over the interview and any materials that you provide?
I agree.
And do you agree to allow us to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
I agree.
Perfect. And then we had many questions in a pre-interview form that we filled out about a week or so ago. We use that information that's in the pre-interview form to kind of help in our research. The entire form is kept in a secure Voces server, and before it gets sent to the Benson Library, we would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or for your family members, so that will not be a part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at the Benson Library. Do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at the Benson?
I agree.
Perfect. And the last question that I have, on occasion, Voces receives receives requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give your consent for us to share phone number or email with the journalists?
No.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so that is the end of the preamble, a little spiel that we always have to give. So now we can actually get started with our actual interview. So first question that I have, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself, Maggie? How would you describe yourself and your life to someone who maybe doesn't know you?
Oh, wow. Well, I am somebody that loves my family, first of all, loves God, loves my family, and I consider myself someone that likes people in general.
And can you tell me a little bit about your life? So where you were born, kind of where you live now, a little bit of family background.
Okay, so I was born in Monterrey, Mexico, and I was born in March 30th, 1956. I was born and raised in Monterrey, Mexico, and I moved to San Antonio in February of 1974. I've been here ever since then in San Antonio, not everywhere, anywhere else, but San Antonio. Um, I've been married for almost 44 years. I have 3 big kids, love of my life, and a granddaughter. And that's pretty much a little bit of my background.
Wonderful. And looking at your life before the pandemic, what would you say was your favorite thing to do? What was your favorite activity or something that just brought you a lot of joy before we entered this pandemic?
It's always been being with my family, spending time together, having meals and chit-chatting and with my brothers and sisters and their kids. It's really that that's one of the things I miss the most. We starting to get together a little more, but nothing like before. So.
And how often would you guys get together beforehand? Like every week, every weekend? Kind of
It
what did that
used to
look
be
like?
pretty much in the weekend, every week, sometimes every other weekend.
And what would
Yes.
you guys do?
Chit chat and eat. Sometimes we play bingo. Sometimes, we listen to music, we dance. But for the most part, it's just talking and, what happened in the week and just sharing some meals. Yeah,
Right, of
that's
course.
basically what we do. Yeah,
Right.
it's fun. It feels so good.
Being with family, just
Yes,
conversing with each other, just being with each other. Yeah,
yes.
I bet. And so now, kind of looking at what your life has looked like during this pandemic for the better part, a little bit more now than a year that we've been in this COVID-19 pandemic. So, first thing, kind of going into it, when and how did you first learn about COVID-19?
Well, it was last March to 2020. In the beginning, we started hearing some things about the COVID. And my husband and I were going to be going into a cruise in the last week of March. So I started having a lot of people asking me, aren't you afraid? I mean, they're talking so much about this COVID. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, it's not here. There's still cruises, there's still boats, going out. So unless I hear different, we're planning to go. But pretty much when it hit me really, or things changed, was the week before we were supposed to leave. So we never made that cruise, and that's fine. I was okay. I was okay. I was in shock, starting to see what was happening. In the beginning, it was almost like not real, and well, it was not happening here. It was in New York. It was in California. It was, so it was not at home. Then in the first week of April, that's when it really hit me. There was a lot of changes at work, and well, as you know, a lot of businesses end up closing, and we started struggling to get groceries and toilet paper and sanitizer and Clorox. And so I started to get a little bit of taste of what a lot of people in other countries go through it on a daily basis. So you can say that this has, um, I guess, helped me to and help a lot of people really appreciate a lot more what we have. I'm talking every single thing, because we used to be standing for hours outside a grocery store to get a little bit of groceries. And sometimes what we were looking for, they didn't have. I mean, you're talking beans, you're talking rice, you're talking flour to make tortillas. I mean, it was starting to get a little scary. And I'm talking in the beginning, and I'm talking, like back in April, May. And then again, at that time, we started not meeting, not seeing each other, just calling each other on the phone. And everybody was scared. The unknown. So we've been through a lot, but we're here.
And kind of, you were talking about you were going to take a cruise at the end of March, and then that's kind of when you decided maybe we shouldn't go do that. At what point do you remember? Was there anything something specifically that you remember? Well, this is where I think that this pandemic is really serious, or this is where I think that we're going to be in this for a long time. Did you ever have a
Uh,
point like that where it kind of hit you?
well, I guess when I started hearing in the news about there was different boats that didn't let them get to their destination. They were kind of like somewhere in the ocean in the limbo waiting, because there was a lot of people sick. And I guess that's when it started hitting me. And then we started hearing in the news the different cases, which in the beginning it was like almost nothing versus how much it became. We never thought it was gonna, and that it was gonna take this long. I mean, even when it started, even when it was already here, I guess including myself, a lot of people were thinking 2 months, 3 months, it's gonna go away, it has to go away. But that was not the case. That was not the case.
And during this time, you mentioned going to the grocery stores and there not being anything, no Lysol, no sanitizers, toilet paper ran out for a good amount of time. There was a panic for it.
Right.
What was going through your head during this time when you went to the grocery store and you couldn't find these things? Did you think that they were going to restock them soon, or were you able to find some of them? Kind of what did that look like for you?
You're gonna laugh, but that's okay. It's reality. Going to the store became my part-time job. Going to the store became my part-time job. I used to spend a lot of time waiting to going in there and be disappointed because a lot of the things that I wanted to get, again, even though they maybe they restocked during the day, but I was at work, so by the time I went, there was nothing, or but literally I went to the store almost every day. Sam's, HEB, Costco, trying to get, because now what we didn't want to do, or what I didn't want to do, we end up doing it because it was a situation. So we didn't want to freak out and start buying more than what we needed. But now it became the need to get, because we didn't know what was going to happen later. So my I guess my job was to get as much as I could so I could provide for my family. It was not just for me, it was for whoever I would hear that needed something as simple as toilet paper or Lysol, or there was a time that we were exchanging beans, and that's why I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is a stronger country and this is happening. And like I said, I think it's one of those things I've been taking it like that maybe we needed it to really realize that so many things that we have sometimes and we take for granted. We take for granted some small little things that people take for granted.
Right, of course. And you are not the first person to say that going to the store was really so much for them. I've had so many people say that they've had similar experiences for that. So you are not alone in that. And during this time, obviously we've been through this a year. At the beginning, there was a lot of information and there was, do this, do that, to try and keep yourself safe. So what are some of the precautions that you and your family took during this time that you enacted or that you started to do to try and keep yourself safe from COVID-19, or as safe as possible? What were some of the things that you guys did?
Well, again, besides, because we were working, my husband and I did not stop working. And then, of course, we'll go to the stores and try to get groceries as much as we could, the things that we needed. But other than that, we were not going anywhere. So we were trying pretty much to stay ourselves at home as much as possible. And I know going to the stores, it was not safe because there was a lot of people. But because of the control that they had for months, I think that helped a little bit, trying to stay away from people, when you were getting your groceries and stuff. But other than that, I mean, our life became pretty much being at home. Yeah.
Right, of course. And we kind of talked about this during our pre-interview. Unfortunately, you did contract COVID-19, you and your husband.
That's correct. That's correct.
So can you explain to me a little bit of what that experience was like for you? How did you feel? What were your symptoms? Just what was that experience like?
So I was taking care of my husband because he got the COVID first. And I was at home. I was working from home. So I was trying to be as careful as possible. But we're in a small house and there was some contact. So I really did not think that I was gonna get it, but I ended up getting it. Now the doctor did tell me that there were some chances that I didn't get it from him. that I probably got it from somebody else, or, going to the store and getting medicine for him. Or he said, nobody can tell you if it was really because he had it. So I learned a little bit. The doctor explained to me some things that I did not know. And so anyway, when I didn't know I was getting sick, and this I find out when I was cooking. I put my seasoning to my food, and then when I tasted to see if I needed something else, didn't taste like anything. So then I tried again, didn't taste it like anything. So then I asked my son, and then he said, "No, Mom, it has a lot of flavor." But I was feeling fine. I was not sick. I didn't feel like nauseated, or so. That was the first thing I felt. It was so the loss of my taste. Then that lasted for a few hours before I started feeling a little more sick. So I started feeling like when you have vertigo, nauseated, like really dizzy. I mean, I was walking very slow because I felt like I really was gonna faint. My body was starting hurting a little bit, but other than that, and felt like tired, very tired. And that was it. It started happening from when it started within the like 24 hours, little more than 24 hours, and I started feeling all those different symptoms, but not to the point that I needed to be bedridden or in the hospital. Thank God. Thank God. Both my husband and I were very, very blessed and lucky that we didn't require to be in the hospital. So I'm very grateful for that. It lasted about 10 days, the symptoms. After that, little by little, I just felt weak for maybe a month. But other than that, I got my taste back, and started feeling a little bit like normal. It was weird. I feel like it was not me. Yes.
Thank you, Maggie, for sharing that. I'm kind of going off of that. How how did your husband first start? So you maybe got it from your husband, you maybe didn't. But when did your husband start thinking that maybe he had COVID-19 and that maybe should go get tested? Did he have symptoms as well at first, kind of similar to you?
Yes, he started feeling. He came home one day from work, and he sounded like he was coming down with a cold. So, are you feeling sick? He goes, it's just a cold. And I said, okay. So that lasted maybe like 3 or 4 days. But then the week before, we had met a couple, parents of my son's. Well, let me make long story short. My son graduated from Texas A&M San Antonio, and they did not have a graduation, regular graduation, but they ended up having a ceremony. So we went to that. They took precautions. I mean, that school did a very good job, the social distance and not bringing a lot of people on at the same time. They scheduled it different days of the week. So, but anyway, that day we met this couple, which was parents of my son's best friend, and we shook hands. That's it. Didn't really get to talk to them much. We find out less than a week later that the man had the COVID. He tested for COVID, so they were asking us to test ourselves. So we did. So I did first myself because I was able to get an appointment, because it was kind of hard to get appointments to get tested. And I came out negative. So I was like, okay, thank God, right? Then my husband did not have time to do it right away. So when he tested like 3 days later, he was positive. This had already been a week from the time that we met the couple. Again, the doctor said, because of the job that you're doing, you're exposed to a lot of people, the public, you really don't know, but you're positive. So he stayed home and I stayed here with him. And then a few days later, I got myself COVID.
And what was going through your head at the time when you found out that your husband had COVID and when you tested positive as well? What were you feeling? I mean, I can't imagine, you were feeling scared or worried kind of, but what was going through your head during that time?
I guess I was trying to focus so much on being positive, being very grateful. I found myself continue to be so grateful to see that he was feeling a little sick. So was myself, but not to the point that some of the people, were coming in the news, or some of the people in the nursing homes or in the hospital. So I kept thinking, today is another day, and maybe one less day that we're not gonna feel sick anymore. So I was literally kind of counting down the days, because the doctor had told me, you're gonna feel like this at least 10 days if you don't get worse. So I guess my focus and praying so much about not getting worse than how we were feeling. And thank God it went like that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you guys are okay now and that you're feeling okay and that you
Yes.
didn't have
Yeah.
anything too serious.
Right.
And so what was your family's reaction when they found out that you had COVID, like your son or your extended family, brothers and sisters? What was
They
their
were
reaction?
they felt bad for me, for us, and they were scared. They were scared. They would call me constantly to see if I needed anything, to see how I was feeling. One of my sisters brought me something that they recommend, some tea that they recommend. Well, I made the tea, but she brought me the honey with a mixture of garlic and ginger and something, home remedy. And actually, I started drinking that before I got tested. So I don't know. I don't know if that helped me to not have any problems with my lungs, um, to have any other symptoms where I will feel worse. But yes, they were very concerned. They were very, very concerned. I think they were more concerned than myself, because it's like that, when it's like when you have a child sick, you not knowing exactly how they feel, you feel worse than how actually they feel. So yes, they were constantly checking up on me.
And once those 10 days passed, so you said that you were counting down the days until, that a doctor told you that you might feel sick. Once those 10 days passed, did you ever feel anything else, any symptoms related to it, kind of the same, or did you feel
Like I
okay, or what was that
said,
like?
when I went back to work, when I was released, actually it was 14 days. When I was released and went back to work, my first day back to work, I felt like I was not myself. I was still not necessarily feeling sick, but I was like very drained, very like weak. But I'm in charge of events. This was in December. So I really tried my best to be able to do what I needed, what they needed from me, and thank God I was able to do it. But it was not the same. For, I want to say, for a good month, I didn't feel myself.
And kind of looking at not only how COVID has impacted your life, but those around you. What you told me during our pre-interview as well that you've known a lot of people that have gotten sick of COVID, and you've known a lot of
Yes.
people that unfortunately have passed away. So how has this impacted you, knowing how other people have been affected by this?
It has impacted me quite a bit, and that's why when I got sick and my husband was sick, I pray, I don't know, so much, so that we didn't end up like a lot of the people that I knew. Um, but it's been, I guess when I think about them, it really, brings me down. Because it has taken a lot of people. Of course, a lot of people I don't know, but it's been taking so many thousands and thousands of people. It's incredible that I don't know how this came to us here, I mean, I'm glad now that they have the vaccine, and I feel that there's hope. I just hope that most people, decide to get it.
Right, of course. And then we also talked a little bit during our pre-interview about the impact that COVID had at the very beginning when it first started in March, and how the borders closed down, and you weren't able to travel to Mexico. Can you explain a little bit of that to me, and how the closure of the borders at the very beginning of the pandemic affected your life?
It did affect our lives, Marianne, because even though we don't go to Mexico too much, right around when they started announcing about the COVID and about closing and about not flights to Mexico, I lost a brother. And it was very hard. So it was those days where it started hitting me. I started feeling like, this is real, and how much it's going to affect us, what are we going to go through, and what are our challenges. This is a big challenge, and what's next. But that was in the beginning. I really try a little bit, I guess, the days and weeks went by to just try to keep myself as positive as possible, regardless of, our challenge of not being able to find food, or not being able to find what we needed, and hearing people sick, and hearing some people dying. But I really felt that if I was focused on that, I was gonna get myself sick. Not necessarily with the COVID, but depression. I really felt my family needs me. I need to be strong, and thank God I was able to go through it.
And during this time, a lot of people have also said similar things, that it's the mental impact as well of COVID, as well as the physical impact. Is there anything that you've done during this time that kind of helped you with the mental impact of COVID? So have you picked up like a hobby or anything, or something that just brings you calm or peace during COVID that you kind of stick to try and get yourself through this time?
I have not really picked up like a hobby, even though there's a lot of things I like to do. I like arts, and I like to do things with my hands and stuff, but I've been pretty busy all along, thank God, and I think that keeps me sane. And I just try to spend as much time as I can with my husband and my son that are here, and value so much their company. So, but I think that's really, I mean, we spend a lot of time watching TV and watching movies, and so it really has helped me quite a bit to just enjoy those moments.
Is there anything that you guys do together, you and your husband, or you and your son, that you really enjoy doing during this time? So like watching a series, is there anything specific that you've done this past year that you've really enjoyed doing with your husband or your son?
So before the COVID, we used to go to Starbucks every week. I mean, every week. Sometimes my husband and my son, they had the chance to go 2 or 3 times, but my husband and I with my son, sometimes we used to go at least once a week on the weekend. That was our little date. So for the longest time, of course, they closed. So, we were missing that. We were missing really doing that too. So once they started opening, just like to take to go, we used to like park the car right outside the Starbucks, get ourselves our coffee, and then just, chit chatting like we did for many years, because we've done it for many, many years. It's been always like, I want to say maybe 20 years that every week, every weekend, regardless, we either go Saturday or we go Sunday, but we go at least once. So that's something also, we've been doing again, but just outside in the car.
That's a wonderful little thing to have, to keep that tradition, and it's had to change and adapt, but you still have it. So that's a great little anecdote.
Yeah, it feels good. The first time we were like little kids, the first time that, after so many months, that we decide to go and do it. I mean, it felt good. It just felt good. Yeah.
Right, of course. And kind of sticking with that topic of your family, how has COVID-19 changed the way that you interact with your family? So do you guys try and call each other or FaceTime each other more? Do you do any Zooms? Kind of what does that process look like, trying to keep in touch with them, since you were so used to always getting together with them on the weekends?
Right. So we do call each other a lot more. We started to get together on the weekend, on a Sunday. My sister has a molino, so when they close, we meet for a couple of hours and we talk. So we started to do that, and it feels good again. It's still not the same. It's still, it still feels because we don't have the rest of our family. We don't have our nephews that used to come along, or we don't have because again we try to, when they said that maybe 10 people, it was okay to get together, but not more than that. So we try not to be more than that. Here in San Antonio, we're like 35 family members. So that's the part that we're missing. We used to get together for the holidays. Easter is coming up. We used to get together all together, play with the cascarones and with the kids. And so, those are the things that we still have not done. And Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's, everybody was at the house. So we were here, my husband, my son and I, we didn't go anywhere, and it was okay. I mean, I don't want to say I was sad, just knowing that everybody was doing okay. I was feeling good. I understood the circumstances and the reason why we were not together. So I was okay with it. I guess after a while, I just got used to.
And what do you think, is lost, and what do you think is gained by using, technology, by using FaceTime and just phone calls to keep stay in touch with family, social media, if you use that? What do you think is lost, and what do you think is gained interacting and keeping in touch with your family through these methods?
I think I don't see it as gain or lost. I think to me, it's like a little bit of combination. So before, yes, we didn't talk much. We didn't do a lot of FaceTime. So now we do that. So it's just something different. It's never going to be the same as being in person. But at the same time, it's awesome to me comparing how it was maybe 20 years ago, 30. If that would have happened back then, it would have been maybe just the phone and that's it. But not being able to see, face to face, and even if it was an electronic device.
And then also, you talked a little bit about how your son graduated from Texas A&M during this time, and that's a big event, and that's an event that
Right.
usually has a graduation party, and it's celebratory. Right. So you mentioned that there was still a little ceremony, but how did the pandemic affect kind of like the atmosphere around the event, or the feelings toward it? What did you guys have, like a little celebration at home, or what did that look like?
We ended up taking him out to eat in a restaurant. It was just him, my daughter, a friend, my husband, and myself. It was just a small group, and he was okay with that. But actually, Marianne, he's an amazing person. Not that he's my son, but when all this happened, when he started, and how it was affecting everybody in different ways, he truly felt so bad for all the students that were seniors of high school. He was like, this is not fair. This is not. And I mean, it took him a while to, I guess, to be okay with that. So then we felt bad for him and not being able to have a regular graduation after so many years of working so hard. But he was okay with that. It's weird. He was okay with that. He was not okay. The kids that graduated from high school not to have a graduation. So anyway, but yeah, I felt that we were not able to celebrate him the way he deserved it, but he was okay with it.
And do you guys have any plans in the future of maybe doing anything? Once this kind of subsides and everything, do you have any plans of making a celebration or anything like that in the future? Is that something that you think that he would want, or?
There's always time. I always say there's always time to celebrate life, to celebrate an important event. So definitely, we're hoping that soon we're gonna be able to meet with all the family and my nephews and nieces, and then we can have something for him.
Right, of course. And throughout this pandemic, it's been a year long. It's been every state, there's been so many people that have been affected by it. However, there are still a number of people throughout the year that have ignored precautions set by the CDC, or who still don't believe in the severity of COVID-19, or
Right.
believe that this is something very, very serious. And sometimes you tune into the news and you would see huge gatherings, parties at college, or just people who ignored the
Right.
advice that the CDC would give. So when you saw something like this, or when you read about something like this, how did that make you feel, and what was your reaction to it?
I just felt like, again, I always say you cannot control the people, you cannot control anybody but yourself. But it was kind of sad to see so many people doing something that we're told not to do for everybody's sake. So I kind of knew after that, 2 or 3 weeks later, that we were going to have a lot of large numbers on whatever, if they were gathering in New York or Florida or California or whatever, that, sure enough, 2 or 3 weeks later, the numbers were a lot higher. Like, I don't know, I'm hoping that right now that's not going to be the case. A lot of people have the shot now, the vaccine. But last week when we had, or the week before when we had spring break, that's when the governor said, pretty much everybody go back to normal. Then he kind of retracted and, he started talking about, again, still continue to use the mask. But I really felt that a lot of people felt like, okay, so it's okay. Let's, do whatever we want to do and get together and, don't have to use a mask. So I don't know. I'm hoping that I'm not going to hear later on that it spike again. That's one of the concerns I have. But like I said, we can only control what we do.
Right, of course. And well said. You can't control other people's actions, just what you do. And exactly what you were talking about right now. Here in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott lifted the mask mandate and said that the businesses could open 100%. Did you feel when you heard this news that this was going to be enacted? I believe it was on March 10th, that's when the mask mandate and the businesses could open at full capacity. When you heard this news that this mandate was going to go through, that Greg Abbott was going to pass this, what did you think about it? Did you think that it was good timing? Did you think that it was premature? No. What are your thoughts on it?
It was premature. It was big premature, especially because, and this is how I felt. I felt, okay, so we have spring break coming up exactly when he's saying it's okay, have your parties and go have fun in the beach and, don't wear the mask. I mean, I know he came back later and he kind of said it different because there was a lot of criticism about that. But I really felt that we were not ready for him to be, making the people feel, go ahead and, you know, have have a party and have fun. So
And does this change at all the way that you approach things going forward? So if you go into a store where people aren't wearing masks because they're not enforced
right there,
to, does it change the way that you do things? Does it change the way that maybe you shop or you decide to go out? Does it change anything for you moving forward? The fact that we had this the mask mandate lifted and business open?
I think as of right now, even though maybe some people out in the streets already are not wearing masks, I feel, more so I need to continue wearing my mask till I feel that it's safe. And I don't know when it's gonna be that I will feel okay to be talking to people in the grocery store without a mask. I think it's gonna take me a long time before I remove it completely.
Right, of course. And this was here specifically in Texas, and I know a couple other states have done this as well, lift the mask mandates and open businesses. But during this pandemic, we also had another monumental event happen, and I'm thinking specifically of the presidential election that happened in
Oh God.
November. And it
Oh
was
God, yes.
it was all that during, I mean, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and we
Right.
also had a huge election, and the outcome of that election was very important for so many people across the
Right.
country. um, how do you believe, or do you believe, that politics affected the way that COVID-19 was handled? Are you satisfied or are you dissatisfied with the way that the government chose to handle this pandemic? And kind of what are your feelings towards that?
I really don't want to go into politics, really, but I felt that some of these people they end up doing that. Uh, they don't believe in the COVID. I guess I'm really almost sure that a lot of these people that are doing protesting and doing what they end up doing, they don't believe in the COVID, and they're just it is there's a lot of risk to the people around them afterwards because they end up getting sick. Um, the way they handle it was not right. It was not right. I don't even want to go into details because it's just my opinion, but it was not. It was not right.
Right. And now, kind of looking towards the future and whatever the future may look like. Um, Obviously, vaccines are becoming more available to more adults across the country now. We have Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson and Johnson. What is your hope for the future now that these vaccines are becoming more readily available and that they're expanding the people who qualify for these vaccines more and more? Kind of what's your hope for just for the future of the pandemic now that we have the vaccine?
My hope is that the most people believe there is something good to protect ourselves, and that they will agree to get it. Um, I heard something yesterday, but I don't know if it was something that came in the news. It was just a comment from somebody that I know, and said that now we're going into, I guess, a scenario where we're not going to have a problem getting all the vaccines for the people. Now it's convincing the people to get them. So I hope that's not true. I hope it was just a rumor, because then we're never going to end. If most people don't get it because they don't want to, not because we don't have it available, I truly feel that this will never end. We're going to continue to have people getting the virus and maybe survive, maybe not. Again, it's just, I guess I'm being a little dramatic, but I feel that most of the people, in order for it to work, most of the people need to accept to get it. I see it like the flu shot. The flu shot, most people get is because they don't want to get the flu, because getting the flu is not, it's not fun. It's not a party. I already had the flu. I know the feeling of the flu, and so I get my shot every single year. Nobody has to convince me. I know how it is. I don't want to get sick. So I see this the same way. I see it as, I feel that from now on, every year we're gonna have to get our shot if, you know, if we want to be protecting ourselves and our family members. And I know nothing is 100%, but if we can be protected 85, 90%, even 75%, it's better than nothing.
And have you been able to get your vaccine, or do you plan to get it?
I got it.
And how was that experience like for you?
It was good. It was good. The first dose, did not feel anything, did not experience anything. On the third day, somebody asked me, "So you didn't feel it?" I'm like, "No." So when I went like that to my arm, I'm like, "Oh, ouch!" I had a little lump, and it was hot to the touch. But if I didn't touch it, I was not feeling anything. On the second dose, I felt a little bit of fatigue within the 24 hours, but that was it. That was it. Just felt like a little bit like not doing anything. So it could have been that. It could have been just one of those days where you don't feel like good.
Right, of course. And what was the process in getting yourself signed up for the vaccine like for you? I know a lot of people, there's a ton of different ways to try and get a vaccine. Right. What was the way that you tried and get it, or that you got your appointment, and what was that like for you?
So one of my sisters called me and said, "There's some slots on to sign up. Do you want me to sign you up?" And I said, "Yes, please." So she was able to do it online. I was so lucky and blessed. At that time, my husband he was able to get it through work. So through work, they were able to sign up the people that wanted to have it. So by the time I got mine, he had already his. So now even my son got it. So the three of us are already vaccinated.
And when you went to go get it, what was that experience like for you? Did you have to wait in line? Was it, organized, disorganized?
It was at the Alamo Dome. It was very organized, but I thought it was going to be there all day because of the hundreds and hundreds of cars lined up. There was a process. So, but there was a lot of cops directing the traffic. So I didn't feel, when I got there, I thought, "Oh my God, I'm going to be here all day," but it doesn't matter. I was willing to do whatever sacrifice, right? But that was not the case. We ended up staying there from the time we got there to when we left. I want to say 2 hours, but everything was very, very organized. It was just a lot of people, and they were keeping everybody 6 feet apart. So we had to go inside the Alamo Dome, and so there was like a group of people here, and then another group of people, another section. So it was pretty organized. The second time, I didn't have to get out of my car. They were giving the shots in the vehicle. So we did the line, but it took us only like, let's say maybe 45 minutes from when we got there till we finished. So it was pretty quick. It was not bad at all.
And once you got your shot and once you got the second dose, what were you feeling? What was going through your head once you had it?
I felt good. Like I said, it's even if it's 80% or 85% or whatever percentage I'm protected with this vaccine, I feel so much better than not protected at all. Even though I already have the COVID, I know there's some chances that I can get it again. I don't know what are the chances. I don't know much of that data, but I know the chances are there that I can get it. And I know even with the vaccine, you can still get it, but I feel it's a little more protection. But that's why I still use my mask wherever I go.
Having that extra layer of protection, right?
Right.
And When you first heard that vaccines were going to start to come out, when you first heard that, Pfizer had their vaccine, Moderna had their vaccine, and they were going to start to go to the states and to become available to certain groups of people, did you ever have any hesitation about getting it? Did you say right off the bat, I know I'm going to get it as soon as I
Actually,
can do it? Or what was that like for you?
yes. Actually, I was interested on going into because they were asking for volunteers or people to test it. But in talking with my husband, he was like, no, I don't think it's a good idea. But no, I was pretty much ready from the get go. I was ready. I was really ready. I knew it was going to be kind of hard in the beginning. So I didn't think I was going to get it as soon as I got it.
Right. And, once now that you're fully vaccinated and your husband, your son are fully vaccinated, more and more people are getting their vaccinations. Once this pandemic is fully over, we don't know when that is or when we'll finally get things under control and when things will kind of go back to what they looked like before. But once they do, what's the first thing that you want to do? What is the first thing that you think to yourself, you know what? As soon as it's safe and as soon as I know that it's safe to do this, I want to I want to go here or I want to talk to this person.
Right.
What is that for
Right.
you?
So I want to be able to see the people that I love. There's a lot of people I love. They're not necessarily family, but they are family. Um, your aunt is one of them. So I miss a lot of my friends that I haven't been able to see. That will be one of the first things that I would like to do. Start meeting with the people that I care and they're close to me. That's one of the first things that I would like to do. And then take my cruise. It's still in hold. My husband and I love cruises. Love cruises. Yes.
So you have something to look forward to now when you can
Yes.
finally take it. You're like, I'm gonna take my cruise, long
Yes.
overdue.
Yes. Yes.
And also, once this is over and we're going to a new normal or we're going to adjust to what life is like after this pandemic, what is something or just in general, what do you think you'll take from this pandemic moving forward? And the way that it's impacted your life and the way that it's impacted those around you and the way that it's impacted just everybody in general, what are some of the things that you think you'll take moving forward once this is finally over and we finally go into something that resembles normalcy?
I really think that time, we take for granted time. Oh, we'll do it later. Oh, we'll see you later. Oh, and no, time is very valuable, especially at my age. Time is very, very valuable. I always find myself saying to people, life is short. Life is short. So these really hit me. And like I said, I appreciate so many things, but time is one that I really feel that I like to take advantage and as much as I can.
Right, of course. I mean, this pandemic, we never thought that we would be in it, right? We never thought that
Right.
we would go through something like this. And so it definitely changes a lot of perspectives and changes the way that we think, just going forward. But that was the last question that I had for you, Maggie. But is there anything that we haven't talked about, anything that I haven't asked during our interview that you'd like to tell me about this topic or something that you want to end on?
I I think I said pretty much in general how I feel and how it's been impacted my life, our lives. I really appreciate you doing this interview to me. I don't think I want to add anything else. I like to leave it like that. But again, thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you, Maggie, for giving your time, for sharing your experiences. I know that it's hard and it's not always easy to talk about, but I really do appreciate you giving your time to me and talking about what this has been like for you. It's so different for everybody, and so getting to hear
That's
what you
true.
have to say and how this has impacted you has been so wonderful. So thank you so much for giving your time to me
You're
today and for
welcome.
talking to me today.